We will say to America that we too are America. We too are Americans. We too deserve. We too should be memorialized. We too should be repaired, restored. And there is, as the church said yesterday, no reconciliation without justice.
Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee spoke while flanked by two of the three remaining survivors of the Tulsa race massacre. The president will be there tomorrow, and that's important. Earlier today, he issued a proclamation to commemorate the centennial of a massacre thoroughly wiped from the history books. Still with us, Caroline Randall Williams, Tim Miller. Professor, I'd like to begin with you. Latasha Brown, the co-founder of Black Voters Matter, wrote this today. There is a direct connection between what happened 100 years ago in the Tulsa massacre, the January 6th insurrection, and the recent attack on voting rights, the same rationale and same source. Professor, isn't it another lesson that we're witnessing today, that if you try hard enough, if you get enough people on board, you can alter history, you can try to whitewash history. Sometimes that works, not forever, but for a good long time.
I think we're seeing how well it works or doesn't in real time, Brian, because as we said in the last segment, democracy is still at stake. And as we speak, there are legislatures all across the Southeast trying to silence the tools and power instruments of an equitable, just democracy in America. I think that we, as people of color, as people who have come from downtrodden communities in America, as we grow and find our own voices and power, we will be witness for ourselves on our own behalf. We will always empower ourselves to tell our stories, but whether that translates equitably into power at the ballot box, into power to make tangible change, that is still just a question. It's a question of whether or not we will be bearing witness as we are wrong done by, and we have found our voices and we will speak loudly about it, or whether or not America will come to its senses and come to work on our behalf to make an equitable America for all Americans. And I don't know if we have that in us, because I know that the people of color do. I know that the people who are in other communities do, but I don't know if there is enough of a critical mass of comfortable white America who does. And that's what's going to take, because we all have to vote together and we have to rise together. Benjamin Franklin said it, we must all hang together or we will all hang separately. Democracy is right there right now. And we have to hang in together. And I don't know how many people understand how high the stakes are and how quickly they will come to that awareness, if they will find it in time to save this precious thing that we've got here.
Tim Miller, I'm tempted to say that unlike Tulsa, on 1/6, there was social media. After 1/6, we received hundreds of video clips. We play them on this and other broadcasts like a kind of perverse, endless video wallpaper. So I'm tempted to make that point. And then I'm reminded there are Republicans trying to tell us that we didn't see what we saw. There are Republicans trying to tell us who the rioters and insurrectionists were, unlike those we saw carrying out the violence.
Hey, look, Brian, think about how easy it is to erase a massacre that happened 100 years ago when they're successfully erasing something that happened 5 months ago, at least in conservative circles, at least among people that are consumers of conservative media and are living in that conservative media ecosystem. Half of those of Republican voters right now don't know what happened on 1/6. So they've convinced themselves that something completely separate has happened. And this is where education and raising awareness about this matters, to Caroline's point. I'm about to admit something embarrassing. I think Caroline will look over at me and think, oh my goodness, how could you not know about this? But I think it's an important anecdote. David French, who's a conservative, wrote in the Dispatch today about when our forefathers fail. And he said in that article in the lead, he said, I'm embarrassed to admit I learned about Tulsa in my 40s. I learned about the Tulsa massacre relatively recently, and it was just at the lunch just a few months ago. I learned about the Birmingham church bombing by 4 members of the KKK. I'm a fairly educated person. This was something that was completely new to me. We cannot raise awareness. We cannot people get white America comfortable with the history of Black America and the pain and the reality of how we got here if people don't know what happened. And there's a big debate happening right now about how to discuss our history in schools. And I think that this is absolutely critical, and it's a critical fight. That in our schools, that young Americans are taught about the great things about America, the sacrifices. We're here on Memorial Day that people have put forth for this country, but also our sins. And until people are fully aware of that, then hopefully we can move to this next step. You know, you're always going to have this portion of people that want to believe what they want to believe. You're always going to have people that are bigoted. But to get a critical mass, as Caroline said, aware and comfortable, we need to educate folks about it. And so I think what Biden's doing tomorrow is a good step in that regard.